So our next session is really special. So joining me, we have Sheryll Durrant, an urban farmer, educator, and food justice leader who serves as the board president of Just Food. Give her a round of applause. It's Sheryll Durrant, everyone. And we have Abbie Corse, who is a 6th-generation organic farmer at the Corse Farm Dairy in Whittingham, Vermont, with Organic Valley. She drove here to be with us. Give her a round of applause. And, we're going to have a conversation really centered on farmers and chefs and the importance of food justice. So thank you both for being here. I really appreciate it. Sheryll, I want to start with you. I know I always start with you. I have to.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear her, everyone? Okay. It's more important than me hearing. You work with so many community chefs who play a really important role communicating with eaters. Can you tell us about, why these community chefs are so important and why they're doing that communication, that back and forth?
So I'm an urban farmer in New York City, and I work on an urban farm, which is half an acre, and a couple of community gardens. And we work with refugees, asylees, and community members to help them to be able to connect to the land, reconnect to the land, because many of them come with deep roots in agriculture, to grow their own food and to grow culturally relevant food for themselves and their family. So one of the components of the work that we do is education. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of community food education. And that's where my role with Just Food comes in, because we have a community food education program. And in this partnership, what we do is the food that we grow, we use it as a catalyst to teach people how to prepare the food nutritiously and affordably for a family of 4. One of the things that we see in the work that we do is that most organic, pesticide-free food is very expensive.
Right.
And if you are a family that relies on SNAP benefits or health box or FMNP, then you're going to determine whether it is fiscally prudent to buy vegetables as opposed to cheap fillers, which are processed foods. Right. So one of our roles is to grow diverse foods, to grow culturally relevant foods, and to show you that you can utilize these foods in an affordable way.
Can you talk about why the having culturally relevant foods is so important for folks?
Because when people immigrate to America, when people come to America, they want to be able to connect with the foods that they are accustomed to. And, like it or not, climate change is real. And,
right.
There are a lot of things that we are growing in New York City, which 20 years ago we would not grow.
Right.
So yes, we can grow more culturally relevant food. We can grow malakia, we can grow bissap, we can grow gandules.
Right.
It's real.
Right.
We even growing a banana plant. Go figure. So, this is a way for you to build community and bridge divide, because I've always said it here, food is a gateway to all things justice. Whenever food is at the center of everything, then people can come together, people
Absolutely.
can learn about each other, and you can break down the divide.
Absolutely. And for refugees, I feel like it brings so much comfort to them to have those foods that are familiar.
Absolutely. And also to share it. Right. And also, one of the things that I learned for myself is that some of these foods we do eat, but I eat it in a different way.
Right.
So it's great to learn how other people prepare food.
Yeah, that curiosity continues throughout
Exactly.
our lives. Abbie, I want to turn to you. When we were chatting, you told me that before you started farming, you were pursuing a degree in journalism. And farmers and food justice advocates like you and Sheryll really need to be storytellers all the time. Can you tell me how you continue telling this story, on social media and other venues?
Well, I've shamefully sort of stepped away from the social media landscape slightly in the last few years for self-preservation, but I think it was really interesting to study journalism, and I never expected to come back to the farm. That was not part of my plans whatsoever.
Right.
Grew up hating cows. I thought they were dumb, and I wanted nothing to do with them, but life is funny, and but it's interesting. I think people are always surprised when I say that I actually utilize my degree frequently.
Right,
but I think you're correct. In this moment, the disconnect between the consumer and the farmer is, I think, wider than maybe it's ever been. The average person is 3 to 4 generations removed from the farm. And so, and the farmer, it's tough sometimes to get off the farm. So I think the ability to be able to to tell those stories and to translate that into spaces is incredibly important in this moment,
Yeah.
because there's nobody else that can tell what that experience is of being in relationship to the land, and what you're seeing, especially in these times of extreme weather and the immense changes that we're navigating on a
Right.
day-to-day basis
Right.
as we're trying to make management decisions and ensure that, you know, you're protecting the land and the animals and the people in equal measure. And those decisions are really complicated. And I think, you know, we don't know what that's
Right.
like. The average person doesn't know what that's like to be on the farm and really be navigating those daily decisions and how you make those prioritizations. So storytelling is really important.
Absolutely.
I think.
That
when we can.
Absolutely, when you can. And farmers have so many jobs. And I want to
have
ask
a
you.
few.
Yeah, I want to ask you both. You know, Abbie, you mentioned the turbulent times that we're in. You know, the cuts to federal programs, many community-based initiatives, many programs for farmers are having devastating impact on both urban and rural communities. And Sheryll, I want to turn to you first to talk about, you know, the times we're in are rough, and they're rough for people who are just, you know, who are barely making it by before.
That's a deep question. Let me think carefully before I answer this question. I work in the South Bronx, which is deeply food insecure. And we're not talking about people who are just food insecure for food insecure purposes. We're talking about the working poor, people who
Right.
work and have to make a decision about whether it is important to pay the rent or to purchase food, which is why community gardens and urban farms are crucial to the landscape of New York City, because they connect community members with a green space, which also helps to mitigate climate change, for that
Right,
matter.
absolutely.
And a source of food for themselves. And a lot of the work that we do, because it's connected to education and it's connected to food security, is funded by the federal government, you know. And a lot of the programs that we rely on through the federal government have been cut. And the problem of food insecurity and the problem of teaching people how to grow their own food, the services through SNAP, EBT, and so forth, those have not gone away.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I've seen it exacerbated since COVID. COVID went away, and the food insecurity is still there, and even greater,
Sure.
the pressure is still there. So what I see for myself, and I'm speaking for myself, is that I'm in this holding pattern where I am connecting more deeply to the work to try and figure out what is the pivot,
Right.
what is the next step.
Right.
Because if we cannot rely on our federal government, then what is the alternative? And what I see as a pathway or a gateway to overcome this is that we need to connect more as community.
Yeah.
Our programs need to intersect with each other, and we need to really do that introspection and that deep dive, and really make the effort to get to know each other and know about their work, and see how we can work together to not rely. I wouldn't say. Let me take that back. The federal government is responsible for taking care of its people.
Yeah. We pay
So
taxes.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. We pay taxes. So yeah, I'm not letting them off the hook. But I feel that this is a moment for us to connect more as community. You know, to really learn more about each other.
Right.
To really interact and intersect more with each other, so that our programs can thrive and sustain. Because from where I'm sitting, we're in deep trouble.
Yep, we are in deep trouble. Thank you. I don't want to clap for deep trouble, but I do want to clap for making sure that we connect to one another, that we create community wherever we can. Thank you, Sheryll. Clap for that. Thank you. Sorry, I'm bossy today. Abbie, I want to turn to you. You know, farmers and farms all over the country were suffering before January, but now we're deeply in a farm crisis. And I wonder what your thoughts are about, you know, the USDA programs that have been cut, you know, and other services that farmers are really lacking right now.
It's not the best. What a mess. I just think it's tragic. I think we were headed in some really incredible directions. I mean, the
Right.
local food initiatives that were happening, the push to put, in Vermont at least, I'm on the board of NOFA Vermont, which is a farming association, and we've done so much advocacy and made so much progress on getting not just organic fruits and vegetables into schools, but also organic dairy, which is more difficult.
Right,
And
right.
and it felt like there was momentum.
Yeah,
And it's tough. It's really tough. I don't know what the solution is, but I think that the community connections are correct. And I think that within the farming community, it's incredibly important that, so Organic Valley is a national farmer-owned cooperative. So we're able to have conversations across distance. I can talk to farmers who are farming in the West and the South. And I think that it's never been more important to try to understand what is happening in all of these disparate places and across distance, and staying very true to the task that I think that we all have and feel so deeply, that we are creating this quality food to be shared and to connect people across distance, and to that nourishing food should be a right to all. Food sovereignty is one of the most important things, I think. And so I think it's just the mechanism has to change, right? It's not going to come from the federal government in this moment. And so what are the mechanisms within states? What are the advocacy organizations? What are the ways that state lawmakers can be pushed on? And I think there are some models that have been done. And so maybe it's, we turn to those instead, and try, maybe it's more of a private sector conversation at this point. I think it's just, the conversation is going to continue. We're all so passionate about it, and it's such an important, work that I don't think it will stop. I think it just has to shift. And, farmers are
Adaptable.
We're pretty adaptable. I mean, that's sort of the name of the game. And that's, within climate change particularly, you're adapting on a daily basis. And so I think regarding food sovereignty and food justice, it's just a shift that needs to happen as to where we're having those conversations and the people that we're engaging to try to push that work forward. And what are those new models? What do they look like?
Yeah, we've been saying this all week. In the absence of federal leadership, you turn to states, you turn to your community, you turn to the private sector, you turn to philanthropy, because we all have to make sure that the momentum that you talked about continues. I want to spend this last 2 minutes asking you each for a call to action. People come to these conferences, they get all excited about what they're hearing, but then they go home and they don't know what to do. What do you want them to do, Abbie?
Well, selfishly, I'd love it if you bought Organic Valley products. I mean, not for nothing, but that helps us stay afloat. But I also think, how can you plug into the organizations in your communities that are doing that food sovereignty work? Where is that happening? And how can you directly engage with those efforts to try to bring that work forward and grow it exponentially as we move forward, to make sure, because food insecurity the pandemic exacerbated that, even in a state like Vermont, where there's a real focus on food security.
Yeah.
So I think the moment has never been more important, and any of you that have a spare moment, that's a really important place to put your energy when you can.
Great advice. Sheryll?
Besides giving me more money to do my work.
I'm always happy to.
You need a QR code.
I know. I forgot it. But something that you said triggered a thought, where we are talking about partnerships and collaborations within people within our sphere, which is why I thought the connection farmers and chefs was such a great combination, because we usually think of those as separate silos.
Right.
But farmers can influence the types of foods that chefs use in their restaurants, and vice versa.
Right.
But I think when I'm talking about collaborations and building community, I'm talking about it holistically.
Right.
We need to connect it to the schools. We need to connect it to our doctors. We need to connect it to all the industries, because food is our entry point. It's the one physiological need that you cannot do without to survive on the planet. And it is so relegated to insignificance in this country.
Right.
That's why our food is trash. And on a large scale. So what we have done is interject that with the way we grow regeneratively, sustainably. And I think we should connect that more cross-connect that to other industries, to other platforms, not just within the food sphere,
Right.
because then we will build a more holistic community.
Sure.
You know, and then we'll be a little bit strong. And that is a real alternative to combat relying on the federal government.
yeah.
Another thing too is to put people in the federal government that serve our needs. That part
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
You know, but it's all connected.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
May I say one more
Yes,
thing?
of course.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
So I just wanted to put a plug in for those of you who can afford the price point of organic food, and I realize that is an enormous conundrum that needs to be addressed. But my point is, when you are purchasing an organic food product, you are investing, in my opinion, and based on my experience, in the better public health outcomes for more people. You're investing in clean water, you're investing in healthier soils, you're investing in biodiversity. So so there is an entire conversation that needs to happen and more mechanisms that need to happen in order for all people to have access to nourishing, nutrient-dense, culturally relevant food that is produced organically. But there is also, for those of you who can afford to make that decision, you are then able to use that investment to invest in the better health outcomes for more people. I think that's really important.
Great. Thank you both so much. Give Sheryll and Abbie a round of applause. Amazing conversation. Thank you.